Oh my God. What? What is he saying to me? I'm talking to Dr. Fanberg, who's the head of my mother's care facility, and I can't process what he's saying to me. Renata, your mother is still a relatively young woman. She's only 65. We've been noticing some symptoms. We think she's sexually frustrated, and we'd like you to go buy her a vibrator. I know there's a lot of cameras in this joint because they don't want the dementia patients to be wandering off or hurting themselves, but how does he know that? And I decide I don't actually want to ask that question. And anyway, my mother is coming down the hallway and she's got a huge smile on her face because her daughter's here. Only, I was here 3 minutes ago anyway, but that's okay. And I say, "How are you?" And she says, "How are you?" Because her language is my language now, right? There's no sharp edges between us. She's kind of not able to really form new thoughts or ideas or expressions quite the way she used to. And so I sort of have to do it for her, and I put my arm around her, and she puts her arm around me. And a few seconds later, she turns to me and says, "Bobby and I are getting divorced." Now, Bobby is my late dad. And a couple months before, I had told her, because I was sort of wanting my mom, again, that I was going to go through a divorce, which was the biggest mistake ever, because now she's fixated on the word divorce. And she's using that to kind of figure out where the heck my dad is. And I'm making this calculation. Well, is it nicer to tell her, no, Mom, Dad didn't leave you, he's just dead. But the moment passes and she's off to the television room. I turn back to Dr. Fanberg. He says, "Renata, we want to deal with the whole human being here, and sexuality is part of that." And I say, "I get it, Dr. Fanberg. Oh, I do. But do you realize, in my head I'm saying, do you realize that at this moment, I'm just thinking about the creepy logistics of this? What if I actually get up the gumption to go to the pleasure palace? What does Mom want?" And, maybe for some of you, this is a conversation you could have in your families. You have open... Maybe you're used to talking about this stuff, but not in my family. No. And my mother couldn't even stand to have a cleaning service in the house because that would be strangers going through her stuff. And we certainly didn't have an open door bathroom policy. Oh, no. No, because, and I remember my dad, he would take a shower in the morning and he would wrap himself up in towels, and he would crack the door open just a little bit and say, "I'm coming out." And that would be my cue to get back into my room, shut the door so that there would be no mishaps. And if there's any chance that I would want to talk about sexuality with my parents, say when I was a teenager, they pretty much didn't want to talk about it with me. And my dad made that pretty much clear when he said, "Renata, learn about sex like the rest of us, on the street." And the man had a point, right? Because what do you really need to know about sexuality? You need to know how not to get pregnant and how not to get an STD. And my mother did have one other piece of advice to give me. She said, "Don't let boys pay for you, because then they're going to expect stuff." But beyond that, there was no other advice to give. They didn't have any morality to impart upon me. No advice, no worldview. The rule was basically this. You do what you're told, you do the right stuff, you take care of yourself, you don't get in trouble, and then the rest of it is up to you. And it's private. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see my mother heading out of the television room, making a beeline back for her room. I know she probably wants to go home. She wants to go back to her bedroom and lie down and go to sleep. And I can see that the head nurse has made a note of this, because they're concerned that she's sleeping too much during the day and she's not getting enough mental stimulation. I know they're gonna go out there in half an hour, they're gonna wake her up, they're gonna bring her out, and they're gonna try to make her play a game with them of some sort. And in my mother's formerly beautiful mind, PhD in English, she can still probably put together 20 words that start with the letter P if you want to test her. So I turned back to Dr. Fanberg and I said, "Thank you very much, Dr. Fanberg. I'm right on it." But really, I really want to shut that door. You know, and it's making me think about all the things I've already had to do for her. Like, oh, take the phone call late at night from my father's best friend, and he's calling me, because my father's passed on at this point, to say, "Everybody's okay, but they're charging your mother with a DUI. I've just had to bail her out of jail, and she's totaled the car." Because you see, when you get Alzheimer's, it doesn't just affect your memory. It can nibble away at all the parts of your brain. And in my mother's case, it was nibbling away at the part of her brain that had to do with inhibition. So my mother was basically on Alzheimer's like an out-of-control teenager. And so at that point, I realized I've got to bring her back. I got to have her live with me now. And she went kicking and screaming. "I don't live here. No, I'm just visiting. Where's my car? No. I don't live here." And she really wanted to go home, but she was getting worse and worse and worse. And at some point I said, I can't take care of her anymore. And that's why we were in this facility. And I was here with her. And that's why I'm walking down the hallway back to her room to say goodbye to her. She's lying down in the bed. And I get in bed with her, cuddle up, and I can smell that familiar smell of her skin. And I stroke her hair that is still long and red and wild. And I say, "Goodbye, Mom. You are the best mom ever. I'll see you again soon." And I do. I come back many times. And I never bring her the vibrator. I delay, and I delay, and I delay, and I delay, and I delay. And I have all kinds of excuses for why I can't do this until it's too late. And she passes away. And I feel kind of shitty about this. Because I think, why couldn't I get it together for her? Why couldn't I get over that for her? A couple months later, I'm at her house, and I'm cleaning out the house to kind of get ready to sell it. And I'm digging around in my dad's desk drawer, and I find this cache of photos, naked photos of my mother. They are so beautiful. In some, she's demure. In some, she's very seductive. Some, she has the most wicked smile on her face. And I can just imagine her in that next moment throwing back her head and laughing with all that red, wild, long hair all around her. And I am so glad I found these photos. Thank you.